Let's go back in here again. What time is it? Does anyone really truly know? Of course they don't. Nobody knows anything. You and I don't even know each other. We're like strangers. Sure, I've adjusted all the game settings to your exact specifications, but who hasn't? It's just what I do, like a day job. And now, the job is over. There's no more information for me to gather. I've collected all the data on you I can. And I still don't really know you. And you don't know me. And neither of us know what time it is. I guess some settings are just unsettable. But if I'm being totally honest, the clock doesn't do anything in the game anyway. You won't have me here when the game starts next time, but that's okay. Video games were meant to be played alone, except for multiplayer ones. You like being alone, don't you? That's maybe the only information I really learned about you. Well, it's time for me to leave. There is still one more setting that we need to adjust, but it may take a little time before I'm ready for that. It's not really in my job description, but that's okay. Perhaps you'll see me again, if you can find me. Talk soon. The Stanley Parable 2. I love it.
This is the story.
Back into the world of the Stanley
All of his
Parable
co-workers
2.
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley
Oh?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Figurine! In the community.
Stanley
Yeah, I gotta
lifted the
have
bucket
this.
into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
I gotta have the bucket with me, man. It provides me with safety and serenity. Why wouldn't I want
Stanley
it?
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I will, just for the meeting room. A whole puzzle. Warehouse access plan. We need more planks. 1. Produce one plank to follow ease of access past fence. 2. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny float. 3. Retrieve Chris's remains from warehouse floor. Construct new structure on bridge. Mission status. Sequel exhibit a large room, lots of boxes, stairs. Oh. Nearby fireplace. Some stairs, something to the stairs, a large room, lots of boxes. So stairs, probably the bottom of the thingy, and some are red and blue. Trust the completionist instinct. What we know. Small floating objects have appeared across the office. Synergize, okay. Oh, I thought there was one in here, just talking about where they're at. So stairs, boxes, and both red and blue.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Stairs.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you
I
think,
like
Stanley?
I like
What name
Stanlerines.
better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
So is this the stairs or is this the both red and blue? I'll consider it the stairs for now. Or should I? Should I? You know what? Let me go into that one room just for the sake of it.
I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was.
He didn't have a bucket.
This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.